Okay, so here's part two of the number one mix tip of all time. This is the explanation of why it works. Okay, so what we did was we just dropped an EQ onto this hi-hat track, for example, and we just essentially just cut out the low-end sub information. I think of this as like trimming the fat. Um, if you do this across multiple tracks, like if you have a project that might be like, I don't know, 30 tracks long or like 90 tracks. I mean, the more tracks that you have in your project, the more true it is, um, or the better it works. So you would drop your EQs on every track except for usually bass, kicks, and subs, or sub basses is what I'm saying. There's what I mean. And it just like what it does is it just cuts out all this extra low end information. I mean, you can see it. I'll turn the output off here. You can see it, and you just imagine that times 30 or however many tracks you have, and it just gives you so much room to work with. Because if you think about it, a mix, an audio mix, you have a limited dynamic range, so there's only so much that's gonna fit. I would think of it like a doorway. If your doorway is 8 feet tall, somebody who's 9 feet is gonna have a hard time making it through, or they're gonna scrunch themselves over. They're gonna have to hunch over. So your mix is 9 feet tall when you don't do this little EQ trick here, and when you do use the trick, it takes you down to about 8 feet or however tall, just whatever you want to use for that analogy. So what that does is it allows you to push the master, and it allows you to push each fader up just a little that much more, and so your mix will be louder, it'll be cleaner, and it'll just sound better, and more defined. And this is especially obvious, or it becomes more obvious on a club system or a large PA as well. And see, this EQ trick, it also works in the live sound setting as well. I used this. I did sound at a church and just cleaned everything up, and that's just that much less sub information going into the room. Um, so the mix is cleaner. So just to recap, use the EQ, low cut, high pass at around 125, 130 hertz. And do this across all tracks except for sub, kick, and bass tracks. Oh, and for kick tracks as well, you know, if you think about human hearing, it only goes from 20 hertz to 20,000 hertz. And that's supposedly, you can't hear above or below that. I think a lot of people have a hard time hearing around 19K or 20K. But what you can do for kick tracks is filter up to roughly 40 hertz or even 50 hertz. Basically, just filter up as much as you can. For this hi hat as well, you can go all the way up to probably like 500 hertz, and it won't hurt the sound at all. It won't hurt the sound at all. Haha. So I do that. I do that as well. I don't just go, oh, okay, 130 and that's it. I'll filter it up as much as possible without affecting the sound. You do have to be careful though, because you can end up with a thin mix, as strange as that sounds. I mean, like it does happen if you overdo it. You'll have a really thin mix, and it just won't sound full. So, all right. So hopefully that helps. Hopefully that explains a little bit about how this works. Oh, one last point. I had mentioned this in the first tutorial. You can use the I want to say it's a 48 dB filter per 48 dB per octave. You can use this, but the only problem is with EQ filters is that you actually introduce a little bit of ringing at wherever the cutoff point is. So at 481 hertz, there's going to be a slight boost. I'm not 100% on that, if it's 481 hertz or if it's actually like 485 or, 478 or something like that. But I have noticed the effect. You can do this and then add another EQ and then just, dial this up. And then, what do you call this? I think this is called EQ fishing. And when you do that, you'll get a little hype in that area. It probably won't be very noticeable, but for extremely discerning ears, it probably will be. So I would probably just stick with the 24 dB, possibly 12 dB filter on that. So, and so if you have the thin mix, try to use like a 12 dB filter, and that might help out a little bit. I believe this is 24 here in Ableton, but anyways, so this trick works across all DAWs. It works across, with all EQs. Linear phase EQ. There was one time where I actually did hear a difference. Like the linear phase didn't ring, even with the 48 dB filter, and I was the only one that could hear it. Whether it's placebo effect or not. I mean, I actually did hear it, and then I had somebody else say that they didn't hear the difference. But, if you sit there and listen to a sound long enough, then you'll hear the difference. So, all right. So, again, I think that was the last point. Hopefully that helps. Thanks for watching. Go to obscuremachines.com. Got some cool products there. We're on Sounds of Sample Beatport. We got MIDI packs, sound packs, a lot more to come. My book, Warp Flow, which also talks about this very subject, probably not in as much depth, but the book is designed to take you from start to finish with a track. So, and in roughly 10 days. And if you don't finish a track after going through the program, you get all your money back. So if you're stuck, check out the book. Please subscribe, like the Facebook, check out my tracks, soundcloud.com/Everfly. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.